I wanted to bring in Governor Perry on this. We'll stay on this subject. Don't worry about it.
I'll let you back in here, Ron.
You've called Senator Santorum the king.
I think you've just seen a great example of why I got in this race, because I happen to think that I'm the only outsider, with the possible exception of Jon Huntsman, who has not been part of the problem in Washington, D.C. The insiders in Washington, D.C. We have to nominate someone that can beat Barack Obama, that can get the that can go to Washington, D.C. and stop the corrupt spending that has been going on. And it doesn't make any difference whether you're an insider from Washington, D.C. or you're an insider from Wall Street. That is what Americans rightfully see is the real problem in America today. They want someone who has a record of executive governing experience, like I have in Texas. I've been the commander-in-chief of 20,000 plus troops that get deployed. I have been the governor of a state that has created 1 million net new jobs. That is a record that American people are looking for. That is what Americans are looking for, an outsider that is not corrupted by the process.
So, Governor, you're saying Congressman Paul is an insider?
I am telling you, anybody that has had as many, here's what frustrates me, is that you go get the earmarks and then you vote against the bill. Now, I don't know what they call that in other places, but Congressman Paul in Texas, we call that hypocrisy.
Well, I call it being a constitutionalist, because I believe we should earmark or designate every penny. You designate weapon systems, you designate money to go to spend $1 billion on an embassy in Iraq. That's an earmark too. I say that Congress has more responsibility. But this thing, back to Senator Santorum, you know, he ducks behind this. He's for this balanced budget amendment, but voted 5 times to increase the national debt by trillions of dollars. This is what the whole Tea Party movement is about. Quit. I mean, government's practically stopped at over increasing the national debt. You did it 5 times. So what's your excuse for that? That's trillions of dollars. You kept this thing going. You didn't do very much to slow it up when you had a chance.
As a matter of fact, I did do a lot to slow up when I had a chance. I was the author of the only bill that actually repealed a federal entitlement, welfare reform. I actually promoted and talked and tried to pass Social Security reform. I worked on Medicare and Medicaid. I was one of the only guys out there in a time, Ron, when we were running surpluses, that was out there talking about the need for long-term entitlement reform, which is where the real problem is. When the government runs up a tab and you don't have the money no longer to pay, then you have to increase the debt ceiling. But every time we tried to tie it with reducing spending. We're in a point right now where we've blown the doors off of it. And as you know, back in the last go-round, I stood up and say, no, we shouldn't increase the debt ceiling because we have gone too far. But you know, routine debt ceiling increases have happened throughout the course of this country for 200 years.
If I can,